Hello and welcome to UU Wellspring. This is Linnea Nelson. I'm the Executive Director of UU Wellspring, and I'd like to guide you through the facilitator role and accessing the materials online. So the facilitator role, in a way, is very similar to the participant's role. However, you will create the calendar and invite the participants, or perhaps someone in your congregation is coordinating that for you, and you are simply facilitating the group. As the facilitator, you will send out an email to the participants before the retreat and before each session. You will also, as I mentioned, prepare in the same way that all the participants do. It is important that you engage with the pre-session materials and that you also reflect in your journal. And in fact, it might even be more important for you as a facilitator to reflect in your journal, because you may not always have the opportunity to share as much as the participants in the group. And that way you get as much out of it as everyone else. I encourage you to set up any music or videos before the session starts. If you're using Zoom, make sure you're familiar with how to choose just sharing music by going to advanced and sharing computer music and sound, or sharing a PowerPoint or a video, maybe a YouTube or something, by making sure that you have chosen the share computer sound. I would also suggest that you set it up in advance, because sometimes there are ads playing before the music and you want to set it up to start just where you'd like it. And then you facilitate. You facilitate the session using the guide. There are tips throughout. You can facilitate in person, online, or even hybrid. On our website, we have some suggestions for how to have a successful hybrid setup. And then once the session is done, then you send out the next session materials. I recommend that you send them out immediately. I find that if I set up the email for the next session before I start facilitating the current session, then I have it on my computer. And if something comes up, anything from someone has volunteered to share a spiritual practice for next time, or perhaps there was a reading or something that someone offered to the group, you can include it right in that email and send it off. You'll find that some of your participants are eagerly awaiting the next set of readings, and others might not look at them for a week, but that way everybody has them and they know when they're going to get them. I also encourage you to keep a consistent line for the subject line. I usually use UU Wellspring and then the date, or UUW and the date. And that way your group can always find that email. And often if it's sent by either one or two people, then people can look for it as well. And the last thing that's really your role is to coordinate the sharing of spiritual practices for sources. That begins around session 5. And it's important for you to be able to help people sign up for that. Often it's just saying at each session who'd like to do the spiritual practice next week. Some people create a calendar. That's up to you. I'd like to show you how to access the materials. You'll go online to uuwellspring.org and you will find a page. It looks something like this. If you look up in the menu section, you will find that there is a facilitator login, which will appear somewhere in the menu line. When you click on it, you will get a choice of all of the programs. We're going to first look at sources, and then I'm going to show you youth and young adult to show you they're similar depending upon which program you have a password to. So when it comes up like this, it says to view this protected post, enter the password below. Just type in over those little dots and hit submit. That will bring you to a page that has a box for each and every part of the sources or whichever program you're using. But most of you will be sources, as it's the first program that everybody participates in. There's a facilitator guide here. There's an email that you send to participants before the retreat and then the retreat. Then it follows up by an extra covenant session. And we'll talk about that in the retreat, whether you'll use that or not. And then there is session 1, session 2, and it goes all the way through the program. When you open up one of these boxes, there'll either be a little note to you There will be an email that you just cut and paste this part and send it right off to your participants, adding your Zoom room, or if you're in person, your location and your time and the date to make sure everybody's clear on that. And then this is followed up by a step-by-step session guide. If you were to go to the youth and young adult, this is what that one would look like. It has session 1, 2, and 3. So I encourage you, when you get your password, to look at the first few boxes, because some programs have retreats, others it's built into the first session, and it will become clear to you what your program is. This is what the youth and young adult one looks like. Once again, it starts with cutting and pasting, or actually with the youth and young adult, it starts with the session and the email is at the bottom. So just in a little different spot. I hope that you will contact me if you have questions. We have facilitator chats that I will make sure that you are included on once you've filled out your facilitator information, which I will be sending to you. Thank you so much.